Authors Press.
Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. And on the line with us today, we have Jacqueline Garcia. We'll be discussing her fantastic book, Decay of Sorrow. Jacqueline was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best movers in the business, Authors Press Publishing. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, do yourself a favor and contact our great friends over at Authors Press. And you can find out more information on them at authorspress.com. Listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Jacqueline here on the line. The moment you start to do any research on her book, Decay of Sorrow, you instantly understand the wild ride that you're going to expect. Now, it's a fictional narrative. It's a suspense thriller, okay? Now, the great thing about it is it was created for pure entertainment. Now, first and foremost, let's call a spade a spade. How great is it that we have this book, and so timely, because after the past couple of years that we've just had, I don't know about you guys, but I could surely use just pure entertainment, right? Not anything that's trying to teach me anything, not anything that's trying to preach to me or, push me down in a certain direction. No. Just something to get lost in, a journey to embark upon that you surely will not forget. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Jacqueline, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you so much for being a guest. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, listen, the pleasure is all ours. And as I stated, I'm surely looking forward to something that, again, will just be something I could just get lost in, right? I mean, this pandemic has wreaked havoc across the board, and there's been a lot of turbulence in the air. And this book is the perfect exit strategy. So we are looking forward to this so much. Now, I know we have a lot of information to cover, Jacqueline, but before we go into the book, let's hold off slightly. Start by telling our listening audience a little bit more about yourself and your background, please.
I'm a newly minted author, I guess you could say, and I'm just excited to express myself and entertain others through my writing and publishing. And hopefully everyone will be entertained by my writings. I also do jewelry, but that's another story altogether.
It's around Christmas time now, Jacqueline, so that's the perfect time to plug the jewelry, right? I mean, it's a great gift. There you go. There you go. Jacqueline, I'm curious. You said you're a newly minted writer, okay? Now listen, here on our network, People of Distinction, everybody has a voice, right? And everybody's voice is distinct. We believe in that. And whether you're a new writer or someone who's been writing for a number of years now, at the end of the day, Jacqueline, you are an accomplished author. You've written a book, you've gone through and you've published the book as well. I'm curious, though, talk to our listening audience about inspiration. Did you always want to be a writer? Was this a hobby of yours? Tell us a little bit more about your background, please.
I always wanted to be a writer. I've written little stories for my sister who had dyslexia when I was younger.
Oh, wow.
And I would draw pictures and tell stories so that I would keep her entertained, because she would hate reading books because of her dyslexia. So, to me, it was just, I was just plodding along. I did normal work for like Universal and stuff like that, as far as like working at their parks. But I've never gotten over to the story, to writing my stories until now. And now it's exciting and new for me to share with with not only your audience but anybody else who's interested in reading my book.
Without further ado, Decay of Sorrow. Tell us a little bit more about your narrative.
Well, it's about a young woman who inadvertently falls in love and marries her twin sister's widower, and after a short time, and the premise becomes a little bit more mysterious as she starts meeting characters who are not things start to add up, basically, I should say. And she ends up becoming almost the next victim to this narrative. She's technically the heroine of the story, and what she finds out totally changes her in the outcome of herself and her own personality and her views on love and stuff like that.
Now, Jacqueline, let's talk about the title, because it's such an intriguing title. Instantly takes you in, and I love the imagery that comes up because it really sets the reader up for that anticipation of what to expect. Why did you choose that title to be the representation for your book, Jacqueline?
It's kind of like an imagery of she's in her sorrow period, but then also her marriage is decaying too. So everything's starting to decay at once while her growth starts to expand into something more. But that's how I picked the imagery is quite interesting too for the name of the book.
And what inspired this particular narrative, Jacqueline?
My characters grow through all the decay that's going around her, the mystery of her sister's death, and everything that starts to accumulate. That it starts to not only make her character grow up, but also become her own person as well.
Again, here on the line with Jacqueline Garcia. We're discussing her fantastic book, Decay of Sorrow. Now, Jacqueline, next question that I'd love to go into. I'm curious about the research that you did in preparation for the book. Now, clearly, the book is a fictional narrative, so I know a lot of it is coming directly from your imagination, and we know that the book is specifically geared for solely entertainment purposes. But what type of research did you do, either A, in researching maybe locations that you discuss in the book, particular objects in the book, or even, since this is your first narrative, and as you stated, you're a newly minted writer, maybe even researching how to construct a narrative and put a book together? Talk to our listening audience a little bit more about that research, please.
Well, I did research how to construct my narrative through a book called Anybody Can Write. That helped me, helped inspire me to write the book. It took me at least 3 notebooks to get the narrative correctly and get the story from beginning to end. And I did research on the poison that was being used in the story, but otherwise for other research, that was basically from start to finish. I did all in my head.
Fantastic. What would you say was a highlight for you in writing the book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't expecting before you started this journey?
Actually finishing the book was my highlight. It surprised me that I I took my writing so far, and from beginning to end, it was an amazing journey.
And Jacqueline, what's next for you? I mean, do you have any other books on the horizon? Any other ideas or narratives that you're thinking about comprising and putting together?
Oh, I'm researching for another book. Right now, I have a little bit of writer's block, but I'm trying to work that around that. I don't know what this next book's going to end up as, but hopefully it'll be just as wonderful as this book.
Absolutely, and we have no doubt about that at all, Jacqueline, and we are looking forward to it because this book here is incredible, and the next one is only going to get better. Jacqueline, I love having this platform to be able to pay it forward to other artists out there listening in. Now, in this instance, other writers listening into the network. Now, as I stated when we first started this interview, Jacqueline, you are an accomplished author. You've been through the process of constructing a narrative, putting all those pieces together, but then also moving forward to the next level and getting through the gauntlet that is publishing. And anybody that's been through that process understands that writing the book is only half the battle. All right, there's still so much more to be done with regards to publishing. Now, Jacqueline, any words of wisdom, any advice that you'd be able to give a new writer, someone just starting out?
Let your story flow. There's going to be false starts, and sometimes you have to let your story either flourish or become something else, but it needs to flow in order to become a great story.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Guys, what great advice. Listen, at the end of the day, ain't nothing to it but to do it, right? Just put the words on the page. You know, and I think so often we put up obstacles and roadblocks in front of ourselves, right? And we prevent ourselves from really moving forward with the task at hand. I absolutely love that advice because at the end of the day, you can always come back. You can always edit down the line, but let your story flow, right? Just put the words on the page and see what comes out. Fantastic words of advice. Guys, listen, you know what you have to do. Okay, and what I love so much about this is we're at the end of the interview now, right? And we've discussed so much information, yet we've barely scratched the surface. And that's why the onus is on you. There's no getting around it. Decay of Sorrow is the title you have to pick up, and Jacqueline Garcia is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. You surely will not be disappointed. I said it at the beginning of the interview. I'm going to reiterate it for you once more now. The past 1.5 to 2 years has offered a lot of turbulence. There's been a lot of adversity that we've experienced. And of course, there's varying degrees to that across the board based upon the individual. But one thing is certain. These past 2 years have been really tough on all of us. Well, what better time to pick up a fantastic narrative and just get lost in the journey? It's a suspense thriller. It's a wild ride. And you are going to enjoy that roller coaster, I promise you. Jacqueline, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you once again for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.